There comes a moment in the life of a nation when silence is betrayal, when continued obedience is suicide, and when bowing to the same hands that choke you is no longer diplomacy. It is surrender.
When bowing to the same hands that choke you is no longer diplomacy, it is surrender. In the heart of West Africa, a country named Burkina Faso has started a journey that has captured the attention of the entire world. Led by its young president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, this nation has made a bold and surprising choice. For many years, Burkina Faso, like many other African countries, had to depend on powerful foreign nations for its safety and military equipment. It had to ask for help, buy weapons from far away, and often received old or second-hand gear. But now, that is all changing. Captain Traoré has announced a new path for his country, a path of self-reliance. This means that Burkina Faso will no longer wait for others to assist them. Instead, they will help themselves. A country has started a massive project to build its own military equipment. We are not talking about small tools or simple weapons. They are planning to build their own armored vehicles to protect their soldiers, their own drones to monitor their lands, and many other essential defense items. This is a significant change. The plan is to create a defense industry valued at billions of dollars, not by buying from others, but by building it at home. This is a story about more than just tanks and guns. It's a story about a nation wanting to stand on its own 2 feet. It's about dignity, which means feeling proud and respected. It's about sovereignty, which means being in control of your own country without foreign powers telling you what to do. And it's about strength, the strength to protect your own people. How did a small, often overlooked country decide to do this? And what does this mean for Africa and the rest of the world? This is the story of Burkina Faso's bold new beginning. To understand how special this new chapter is, we must first look at the old story of Burkina Faso and its neighbors in the region known as the Sahel. For many years, this part of Africa has been facing a very serious problem: terrorism. Groups of violent extremists have been attacking villages, closing schools, and causing great fear and instability. For any country, the first job of its government is to keep its people safe. For a long time, Burkina Faso did not have the factories or the technology to make its own advanced military gear, so it had to rely on bigger, richer countries in the West, like France and the United States. This relationship was based on aid and purchases. Sometimes these Western countries would give military aid, which could be equipment or training. Other times, Burkina Faso would use its own money to buy weapons from these nations. On the surface, this might seem like a normal way of doing things, but it had many hidden problems. First, the equipment they received was often not what they truly needed. It was sometimes old second-hand gear that was being replaced in the Western armies. It was not designed for the harsh environment of West Africa, with its extreme heat, dust, and rough terrain. Things would break down easily, and getting spare parts could take months, leaving soldiers vulnerable. Second, this help always came with strings attached. When you depend on another country for your safety, that country has a lot of power over you. They can influence your political decisions, your economic policies, and your foreign relations. It made it hard for Burkina Faso to be truly independent. Leaders felt they could not make decisions that their foreign partners might disagree with because they feared the help would stop. This created a feeling of being a junior partner, or worse, a pawn in a bigger game played by global powers. The biggest irony was that, while Burkina Faso was struggling to protect its people, the foreign companies selling the weapons were making billions of dollars, and the protection that was delivered was often not enough to stop the terror attacks. This created a deep sense of frustration among the people and the soldiers. They felt that they were paying a high price, both in money and in independence, but were not getting the security they desperately needed. Captain Traoré saw this cycle of dependency and felt it was a trap. He believed that the only way to truly protect Burkina Faso was to break free from this cycle and find a new way. The change in Burkina Faso started with the rise of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He is not a typical politician. He is a young army officer who, along with his fellow soldiers, felt the pain and frustration of fighting a difficult war with one hand tied behind their backs. He had been on the front lines, and he saw the problems firsthand. He saw brave soldiers who lacked the right tools to fight effectively. He saw a nation that was losing hope. When he came to power, he brought with him a simple but very powerful message: we must rely on ourselves. This was not just a slogan, it was the heart of his entire philosophy. He told the people of Burkina Faso that true freedom does not come from foreign aid. True freedom comes from the ability to provide for yourself and to protect yourself. He believed that for decades, his country and much of Africa had been looked down upon, seen as a place of poverty and problems that needed to be managed by outsiders. He wanted to change that story forever. His vision was to restore dignity to his people. He argued that building your own tools, solving your own problems, and defending your own land with weapons made by your own people creates a powerful sense of national pride. It changes the way you see yourself and the way the world sees you. You are no longer a victim waiting for a savior. You become the hero of your own story. This message resonated deeply with the public. People were tired of broken promises from the outside world. They were tired of feeling helpless against the terror groups. Traoré's idea of building a domestic military industry was seen as a practical and inspiring solution. It was a declaration that Burkina Faso was taking its destiny into its own hands. He looked at the system where foreign nations profited from his country's suffering and said, "No more." He was not just making a speech. He was launching a revolution of the mind, telling his people that what was once considered impossible was now the only way forward. The heart of this new revolution is a simple but powerful label: Made-in-Faso. Faso is part of the country's name, and it means homeland, so Made-in-Faso means made in our homeland. This phrase is now a symbol of Burkina Faso's new ambition. It represents a powerful shift from being a consumer of foreign goods to a producer of its own technology. Across the country, especially in cities like the capital, Ouagadougou, and the industrial hub of Bobo-Dioulasso, a new energy is taking hold. Factories that were once quiet or underused are now coming alive. They are being repurposed and upgraded to become the centers of a new defense industry. The goal is to create a complete system of homegrown defense technology worth billions of dollars in national value and assets. What are they making? The project is starting with the most essential tools needed for the fight against terrorism. This includes armored personnel carriers, APCs, which are vehicles designed to safely transport soldiers through dangerous areas. These are not just copies of foreign designs. They are being custom-built for the specific challenges of the Sahel. Local engineers, who understand the land, are designing them to withstand the intense 120-degree heat, to move easily through sandy terrain, and to be more resistant to the types of attacks used by local terror groups. Beyond armored vehicles, they are also focusing on drones. Drones are incredibly important in modern warfare. They are like eyes in the sky. They can be used for surveillance to watch enemy movements without risking a pilot's life. They can also be used for targeted strikes. Burkina Faso is developing its own drones, tailored for its needs, making them cheaper to build and easier to repair than the expensive imported models. They are also working on tools to safely disarm roadside bombs, known as IEDs, improvised explosive devices, which are a major threat. The most important part of the Made-in-Faso initiative is the people. This entire project is powered by local talent. Captain Traoré's government has called on the nation's brightest minds, engineers, mechanics, welders, technicians, and innovators. Many skilled people from Burkina Faso, who had moved to other countries to find work, are now being encouraged to return home to be part of this historic national project. This isn't just about building machines. It's about building a future. It tells a young child that they can dream of becoming an engineer in their own country, not that they have to leave to succeed. Made-in-Faso is more than a brand. It's a battle cry for a nation determined to forge its own path. This ambitious transformation in Burkina Faso did not happen by chance. It is the result of a carefully thought-out strategy that is being directed from what could be called Captain Traoré's war room. This is not just about building weapons. It's about fundamentally changing how the country operates and how it interacts with the world. The secret behind the strategy is a combination of local intelligence, practical adaptations, and building new international friendships. First, the government conducted a deep analysis of the security situation. They studied the tactics of the terror groups, mapped out the areas where attacks were most common, and identified the biggest weaknesses in their own military's equipment and supply lines. They realized that waiting for spare parts to be shipped from Europe could take 6 months, a delay that cost lives. The answer was clear. The supply chain had to be local. If a vehicle part breaks, it should be replaceable within days, not months, using a part made at a factory just a few hours away. Second, the plan involves being smart with resources. Burkina Faso is not a rich country, so every dollar has to be used wisely. The strategy is not to build giant, expensive factories from scratch. Instead, they are repurposing existing infrastructure. An old factory that once made tools for farming might now be adapted to also produce parts for armored vehicles. This is a clever, dual-purpose approach. This means the industrial growth serves both military and civilian needs. The same metalworking skills used to create armor plating can also be used to build stronger bridges or better farming equipment. Third, a key part of the strategy has been to look for new partners. For decades, Burkina Faso's main partners were Western nations. Captain Traoré has decided to build new alliances with countries that are willing to share technology and provide training with fewer political conditions. Nations like Russia and Iran have been mentioned as new strategic partners. These countries have experience in building their own defense industries, often while facing pressure from the West. For Burkina Faso, these alliances are not about choosing one side in a global power struggle. They are a practical choice to get the knowledge and support they need to become self-sufficient. Traoré is not begging for help. He is bargaining, trading his country's potential and strategic location for partnerships that respect its sovereignty. This bold diplomatic shift is a direct challenge to the old world order and shows that he is willing to make uncomfortable choices to achieve his goal of independence. One of the most surprising and important parts of Burkina Faso's new direction is the powerful effect it is having on the country's economy. Many people might think that spending a lot of money on the military would drain a country's resources, especially a country that is not very wealthy. But Captain Traoré's government has turned this idea upside down. They are using the massive investment in military manufacturing to create an economic boom that is strengthening the entire nation. The defense sector is not being seen as a cost. It is being used as an engine for growth. Think of it like this. When the government decides to build an armored car locally, it starts a chain reaction. First, a factory needs to be run, which creates jobs for engineers, welders, mechanics, and managers. Second, that factory needs raw materials like steel and rubber. This creates business for local suppliers of these materials. Third, all these materials and the finished vehicles need to be transported, which creates jobs for truck drivers and logistics experts. Fourth, All these new workers earn salaries, and they spend that money in their local communities, buying food, clothes, and other goods. This supports local farmers and shopkeepers. This billion-dollar backbone of defense. Production is therefore lifting up many other parts of the economy. It is a dual-purpose revolution. The roads that are built to move military convoys can also be used by farmers to bring their crops to the market more easily. The technical colleges that are training people in advanced mechanics to build drones are also creating a skilled workforce that can start other technology companies. Factories are working double shifts. During the day, they might produce armored plates for the army, and at night, they might produce metal tools for building new schools and hospitals. This has created a powerful new sense of opportunity. For years, many of the brightest young people in Burkina Faso felt they had to leave the country to find good jobs. They would go to Europe or North America, leading to a brain drain that weakened the nation. Now, there is a reason to stay. There is a reason to come back. They can be part of building something new and exciting in their own homeland. Other countries in the Sahel, like Mali and Niger, who face similar challenges, are watching this Burkina model with great interest. They see that investing in yourself can lead to both security and prosperity. By building its own weapons, Burkina Faso is also building economic independence, which gives it the power to make its own decisions without having to ask for loans or permission from foreign powers. For a very long time, the world story about Burkina Faso was a sad one. It was often described as a failed state or a victim country. It was seen as a place defined by poverty, political instability, and as a helpless victim of relentless terrorism. Outsiders who wrote this story often did not understand the deep resilience and pride of the Burkinabe people. Today, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the country is tearing up that old script and writing a bold new one. Burkina Faso is transforming itself from a victim to a vanguard, a leader of a new movement. This change is not just about having new military hardware. It is about a profound shift in the nation's mindset and its soul. The constant threat of terrorism used to make people feel like they were the hunted. Now, with a growing arsenal of homegrown tools, the nation is starting to feel like the hunter. The army is no longer just reacting to attacks. It is proactively going after the threats. Drones Made-in-Faso patrol the borders. Armored convoys built in Faso secure the towns. Local intelligence software is being developed to track threats in real time. This has a powerful psychological effect on the soldiers. Imagine being a soldier and going into battle with equipment that you know was handed down from a foreign army, equipment that might not be reliable. Now, imagine going into battle with an armored vehicle that was built by your countrymen, your neighbors, your brothers and sisters. You fight with a different kind of pride. You know that your gear was made for you, for your specific mission, and that the entire nation is standing behind you. This builds incredible morale and a fierce will to win. This transformation extends to the entire population. The idea that Burkina Faso was weak and dependent is dying. Captain Traoré killed that idea the moment his government dedicated a budget worth billions in national value to local military production. This decision did more than fund factories. It funded hope. It has created thousands of jobs, given young people a positive alternative to joining extremist groups, and has created a sense of shared national purpose. The people are standing taller. In a world where small nations are often bullied or ignored, their leader decided to roar, and with the strength of a growing, self-made military industry behind him, that roar is now being heard far beyond the borders of Burkina Faso. What is happening in Burkina Faso is more than just a single country's story. It is the beginning of a potential